Meeting. Yeah, so we are live and we can start.
Yes. So welcome, Rahul, and hello everyone to uh, this event today for the first day of Design Week that we have coming up. We have a lot of events, as Divyansh mentioned just right now. For today, for the opening event, we have Rahul with us. If you all don't know, I'm just going to introduce him. So Rahul basically is a multidisciplinary designer with interests and expertise in branding, packaging, digital interfaces, user experience research, and is currently chilling out a little in New Delhi. He shares his experiences and learnings and a love or two in design. And he has a cohort that he's mentoring as well, named You and Design. It's focused on user research along with system understanding of UI. He loves to see design as a scientific process with a flair of art as well. He is an architect turned to product designer, which is very interesting. And he has done his master's from IIT Bombay. He has helped three startups in establishing their entire design team fully from scratch itself. And he has worked with Saint Gobain's, Kerala government, Abu Dhabi, Louvre Museum in creating AR VR experiences that made tangible impact. And as a founder of a fully functional design, he has helped create 20 plus international brands and digital experiences as well. Um, his tools of choices are, as a designer, Figma, Cinema 4D, Affinity, Suite, and he's a Figma evangelist since its first beta version. And he prefers a clean, minimal functional UI with moody graphics and 3D imagery. And apart from his work, he loves dabbling in writing, photography, and he's also currently learning to make films as well. His recent series on Windows 11 redesign was referred to the Windows design team by Windows 11 design director, and some of those changes are actually getting implemented right now as we talk as well. So just from this introduction, y'all can just understand there's just so much that we can learn from him. And without taking much of your time, I'm just directly gonna pass it on to Rahul now. Yes, Rahul.
Thank you, Yashvi. I mean, I think that introduction went a little too long, and yeah, so I actually wrote it to be honest, like for everybody to know it. Like, but yeah, I think it went a little bit long. I thought like you'll be like cutting down on certain things, but okay, not an issue. Cool, 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 cool. So, how many of us are here today? Uh, just trying to understand like what's like how many people are here and and if we have certain understanding of like what sort of backgrounds they're coming from or like certain idea about like the demographics, like, as a designer, like for me that's the first thing that I need to know, like what are my humans looking like, what kind of like sort of a demographics or community I'm dealing with. So it just gives me a little better idea. So if you can just maybe throw a little light on that so before moving forward.
So Rahul, we have 127 people with us, and most of them are basically students learning from diversified fields, engineering, design, and so many more. Uh, for the people, you can just open up the chat and they can send in
Yeah,
some.
I'm actually looking at the chat. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting variation here. Someone's from BTech, English honors, footwear design, engineering student. A lot of engineering students I see. PCM. Okay, someone is from IIT also. Interesting, very interesting. That's exciting. That's really exciting. So I think without sort of further ado, let's get straight into like how this like session is going to be, and as the name said, like it's about like sort of understanding what design is, what is its scope, what are different like sort of career options, what different processes, different tools, and how you can like sort of get started in like having like a design as a career or even like as something that you want to learn. So I'll be going through like a range of questions, 8 to 10 different questions, like which are probably like one of the most sort of confused things when you start like your career or like your journey in design, especially like focusing on the UI UX part of the design, this thing. So let me just share my screen and yeah, we can go ahead with that. So I hope you're able to see my screen. Everybody's able to see my screen.
Oh, yes, it is visible.
Okay, awesome. So one of the first questions, like, and that would I would like ask to ask everyone is like, what is exactly design? Like, design and its definition has been like sort of confused a lot, especially with a lot of information these days online. But like the core of it, like it's missing. Like some certain people say like it's UI UX, it's like designing products, it's designing this thing, designing logos, it's graphic design. There's so much to it, you know, like, but underlying all of that is this basically three-step thing. It starts with this design, like, you know, when you want to achieve something, when you want to do a task, it can be like as simple as booking a car, it can be as simple as like maybe going and buying a shoe, or like getting some work done. So there is like this intention that you start with, right? And then there is a certain action, and then you reach the particular outcome, which is like the task is done and you've achieved that particular thing. And this is where, you know, like what happens is like between intention and outcome lies a gap. There is always a gap, you know. Ideally, in an ideal world, what we would like to do is like we have an intention, we want to do something, it should happen like immediately, you know. Like I want to book a car, I want to maybe like go to a particular place, I would like to actually transport myself, I'd like to teleport myself. So I think but that's not possible. So there is always this gap which is brought by the physical limitations of the world, by the technological limitations, between what you intend and what is the outcome. And it is in this gap that all of these things start coming in. There are different problems, there are inconveniences, there are pain points, there are errors and failures, and there is a lot of time that is taken between these 2 points. And this is exactly where we invent, you know, as humans, as a species who likes to solve problems, who likes to get to the outcome pretty fast. We invent tools, we invent processes, and those tools and processes help to like sort of overcome those problems and that time taken between intention and outcome. And this is exactly where design comes into picture. Design is basically a process of making these tools and processes better. So for example, like if you see like you want to book a car, there is a particular tool now right now, like which we call an app. It can be Uber, it can be Ola. Once upon a time it was more of like you had to like actually do a phone call, or you had to move out on the actual street and like find a particular like an auto rickshaw or like a cab. But and it used to take a lot of time, it was like a lot of frustration. But like over a period of time we moved on to like call based calling of these cabs and
No,
stuff, and now we have an app at our fingertips. uh,
Rahul, just a moment. You're sharing your screen, but it's stuck at one position. Is it?
oh, is it okay? Let me just reshare it. Where was it stuck?
I
On
mean, it
your
was
Zoom
stuck
screen.
on your Zoom screen. Yeah. Yeah, now it's visible.
Yeah, now it's visible. The slide.
Okay, awesome. So all of this was visible.
Nope, 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 nope. This is like this. This is like we are seeing for the first time. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. We saw all this, right? And then it got stuck.
No, it was stuck on your face. Like it was showing your face,
I
like on
guess
Zoom screen
the edge
instead
was
of the
getting
picture.
shared. We were only seeing your browser, but now
Okay.
we can see the.
Now it's visible. Okay. So I'll just
Yeah.
maybe quickly sort of recap it. The idea was like to establish what is design, what is the underlying principle of design. You know, like so whenever we want to do something, a task, we have an intention, and then there is an action to do that, and then there is an outcome. And that is exactly where in performing that action there is always a gap. You know, that is where problems, inconvenience, pain points, failures, and there is a particular time taken between intention and outcome. And to overcome that like sort of gap, we have been as a species, we have been designing tools and processes. As I was giving example of, like, if you want to have an intention to go somewhere, you like to book a cab, and the outcome is reaching that particular place. So we invented different ways to do it. Earlier, we used to, like, sort of, even like as an example, even a cab is a tool which allows you to move between 2 points. Now the next point in that is like how to get to a cab. So we keep on improving, we keep on like inventing and optimizing these tools and processes. And that is where the design part of the things come into picture. Design is actually like process of making those tools and processes better, convenient, less frustrating, and even enjoyable. And so, like, even at times it might not be possible to completely reduce the time between intention and outcome, but at least you can make it enjoyable. So while you're doing that particular task, you're not frustrated, you actually enjoy that. And that's in a nutshell, I mean, what design is about. So and if you look at it, how you achieve that particular optimization or how you make things better, it's a very scientific process. It's like it's sort of an experimentation. So you actually, like, sort of, you have an idea, you understand, and you start conducting these experiments and to solve those problems. So for example, let's say as I was talking about this cab example, so you have like somebody had an idea that, okay, an application could be there which could be used to book a particular cab, and then they try different variations of it, how to make it better, how to make it easier, how do you trust a particular cab driver, and all of those things. And those started coming into like as features of rating systems and different things. So these are all like every feature that you gets into a tool or an application is basically like a small experiment that you try it out, you test it with the users, you validate whether it's working or not, and then it becomes like a part of your solution. And then finally, I mean, it's also a business process. I mean, it's not like something that can exist on its own. It's always part of some business or some sort of like a larger system. And that is where the idea of scaling. So once you've conducted enough experiments, you'll have like certain solutions, and then you need to scale them up, not only to like make profits or make money, but also scalability is needed so that it can reach more humans, and it can like make lives easier on a larger scale. So that's exactly, I mean, what a design in a nutshell, as a scientific process, as a business process, as a problem solving process looks like. I hope that's all clear. So coming down from that, like what are different maybe like kinds of design careers that exist as of now in the current world, and these are some of the things that exist as different branches of it. Let me just maybe just give me a minute. Yeah, awesome. Sorry. So so industrial design, one of the first things you see here is industrial design. Industrial design is actually like designing hardware products. Like when they talk about like iPhone has a hardware part to it, has a software part to it. So the hardware part is basically what industrial designer does. They would be designing those curves, those millimeters, those materials they will be selecting, and like the very famous notch thing. So that's also like sort of that's the job of an industrial designer, to come up with those decisions and like deliver a hardware product. Graphic design is also again something which is a very vast field. It includes print, packaging, branding, poster design, communication design, advertisements, and all those sorts of things. Then we have animation or motion design, which is a lot about like sort of animating things out, creating videos, creating stories, storyboards, and all of that. And motion design is also like a part of that. Fashion design, I hope everybody has some understanding of it. Then we have like the digital product design, which is something that we'll be focusing on today, which is also more popularly known as UI/UX design. But I would like to call it digital products design. Then we also have like architectural or interior design, where you design houses, the way uh, uh, a house or interior works. There is game design, there is branding and packaging, like the physical packagings you receive. You buy products, they come into a particular packaging. So all of those things are designed. We have vehicle and mobility design also, where you're designing like vehicles and like sort of cars and different sort of mobility solutions. Even shoes, like they sort of come under like the vehicle or mobility design part. And then we have something called as like strategy design, where you're actually not sort of like designing any physical or any tangible thing, but you're designing processes or you're designing strategies in how to make something better. So it's more of a sort of a mental sort of a like a theoretical way of understanding design. But yeah, this is sort of like a graph or like a span of what different sort of design careers exist today. I hope that's clear. So I'll move on to the next question. What is the digital product design? So out of all this, if you see like one question maybe from everyone, that like what is something that is like most viable as a career in the present context, and it definitely depends on like what is your interest, what is your knack for something. Like you might be interested a little bit more in game design, or you might be interested in a little bit of fashion design or stuff like that. You might be interested in digital product design. But in terms of bringing sort of like a career aspect, and like what is the sort of viability or feasibility of all this thing, one data I can bring in here would be like if you consider like there are 100 job openings in the market today, right? So almost 35 to 40 of them are around digital product design or like the UI/UX design, followed by the graphic design part, which might be like around 25 to 30 openings. Then again, like after that, animation and motion, and branding and packaging, and very few industrial design openings, or like architectural or interior design openings, or vehicle and mobility design. All of these are very few in numbers. So when you consider that, like digital product design has like, as all of us sort of know, that it has been one of the most popular things all around at this point, because there are so many digital products getting made. There are so many startups working on like solutions or creating digital solutions, and it's a great time to be like a digital product or a UI/UX designer. So moving forward from that, like what exactly is digital product design, or UI or UX design, as we know it, and as we like keep on having these UI versus UX these things. So to put it in a picture, it should actually be just UX design. Like the UI is a sub part of it. It's just the visible part of the whole design or the whole product. And it can be like it's about designing those digital user experiences. They can be apps, they can be websites, so they can be AR VR experiences, they can be games, they can be even interactive videos. For example, if anybody has watched Black Mirror, there was this special episode of Black Mirror which was called Bandersnatch. And that episode had a very interesting way of storytelling. Like it was interactive. You could actually choose different sort of paths between moving like between different characters, and then the story had like a different outcome. So it was not just a like a one way interaction. It was like a two-way interaction where you are also part of the story, and that also becomes like a digital user experience in one way. So all of this comes under UX. All of this is UX. It's an experience. It's an experience that a user has, and that's what UX is. And the UX part of design is something which is, as I was saying, it is sort of an underlying thing. It is the foundation of all design. It is psychological, and it is the why of design. And UI, if you want to like sort of see, it is more of a what of the design, like what you see, what you interact with. So something that is the bridge between the product and actually the user. So UX, in a nutshell, has like these 3 or 4 different parts. One of them is like heavily because the user, no, the first term in UX is the user. And if you have to understand the user, you have to understand them, and that is where the research part comes in. You have to observe them, you have to analyze how they behave, what they're saying, what they are doing, and all of that thing, and take insights from that. Then there is like a strategy part to the whole design, which is like defining different metrics, like how do we approach this particular product, what is the technological viability. Like you can have a crazy idea, but like the technology is not there, so you cannot create that experience. So that is taken into the strategy part. Similarly, I mean, the feasibility of it. Are there enough users ready to take that? Is this the right time to take that? And also, like, sort of what will be the roadmap of defining or designing that product and delivering that product. So that comes under the strategy. And then we have the UI part, which is like the most sort of like glamorized version of the whole design process, where you see all these like kick-ass, cool-looking screens and very like delicious, even like at times like very delicious looking things, but rarely they sort of like actually like you will see in them actual products. But yeah, UI is important. UI is the visual part of it, as I was saying. And that includes as a UI designer or the UI, that includes like visual elements like typography, or you'll be worried about spacing and grid systems. You'll be talking about colors, what are different interaction elements, buttons and cards and all of those things, motion design, what is the style and aesthetics of the design, and also like design systems. And then finally, as I talked earlier also, there is business to the whole thing, which is how do we scale this whole design, how do we make it sustainable, and you'll be defining certain success metrics for that whole product. So this is in a nutshell what UX design is. It's not just like a research, it's not just UI, it's not strategy, it's all of this. And this is what like a digital user product design experience looks like. So I hope that is making sense. We'll be taking questions, I think, at the end of it. Yashvi, should we, I mean, is there a particular thing like we can take questions in between, or should we take it at the end? Is there anything like that?
Anything that you are comfortable with. So ideally, keeping all the questions in the end will be better. So once we understand the entire thing, then we can just jot down all the questions and then keep up the questions down in the end.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That sounds good. That sounds good. Cool. So now that we have like have some understanding of what design is, and then what a digital product design is, what are its different components and stuff. Another thing that might come into like people's head: what exactly happens in this process of UX, UI, UX design? And there are different versions of this like on internet, and different companies and different designers have like different sort of like processes to define this. But essentially, it's like sort of discovering or researching, understanding, then like sort of designing it and then putting it out on the to the users. That is like developing and testing it. So here is like a process which is very popular, and it's called the double diamond process. The first stage is like you discover the whole thing, including, I mean, that includes your research, surveys, interviews, focus group studies, competitor research, and all of that. Then you define certain things. When you have understood that research part, you have like data from the user. So this many people are probably not able to do a certain task in this way. So you'll start understanding and like sort of coming up with these problems that our users are facing. So then you have like, because users will be saying a lot of things. As a designer, you have to cut down the noise that users are saying, and you have to understand what is exactly the core of the problem here. And you use a lot of different tools for that, like card sorting, affinity mapping. The reason I put all these keywords here is so that, I mean, when whoever is like is part of this thing session, they can actually take this and go ahead and search for these terms. 1 hour is very difficult for anyone to actually cover all of this in detail, but at least you have like a good starting point to like search and understand, and like do a self-learning journey becomes easier. So yeah, we use a lot of different tools to actually understand, analyze, and make those research into actionable insights. So we have card sorting, affinity mapping, information architecture, user stories, UX metrics, and that is where we define the core principles of our problem and what this solution might look like. So for example, let's say you are like solving a problem and you figure out there are 4 or 5 sub problems within that. You're booking a cab, and so sub problem might look like, how do I trust the cab driver, or like how can I get it like within a minimal point of time, how can I reduce the distance between it. So you'll have like a list of various problems, maybe 8 problems, 10 problems, 20 problems, and at times it might be like more than that. So how do you make sure the priority, like that this is the major core 4 or 5 problems that we want to start with, and that is where like the definition defining this thing comes. You define those priorities and you start solving for these core problems. And that's the next stage where you start designing, you start sort of making those screens as we start. This is the UI part of it, this is the visual part of the whole design. So a wireframe is basically like you start putting the app in like basic box forms, like okay, this is where the card will go, this is where the booking button will go, and stuff like that. And you start making certain prototypes so that you can test with the users that if your design is working or not. And when all of that is done, you go on to the development stage where you hand off the design to the development team. The tech development happens, there is a bug bashing that happens. Also at this time, usability testing, you are like sort of testing it with a lot of users. Alpha, it can be an alpha stage or a beta stage of the software or an application. And then you start receiving analytics, so and certain feedback. And that is where again all of this goes into a repeat, it's a loop. It's never like this clean. This diagram looks very clean here, but it's never this clean. At times you might be jumping from design back to discover, you back to go to research, you go again like and sort of define those things again. And as development is happening, there is design is happening. So it's a very intermixed process. Most of the time it's not as clean. There's a lot of overlap. So in a nutshell, that's how like the process of UI UX design looks like, and those are like some of the major keywords that you can like look further and understand the process in detail. Okay, cool. Now coming to the part which might be like some one of the most sort of like exciting things. What are some of the tools that are used in UI UX design? So these are like sort of software tools I'm talking about. Tools and processes for UX design might be different, and you saw some of those keywords up, but these are like software tools. And for screen designing, like there's a lot of tools. These are like my own personal understanding and like recommendations, if you can say. For screens, Figma. I mean, there is I would say you don't even have to move to Adobe XD. Figma is like a very great tool. It is available on all platforms, it runs on the web, and it's free. Like a lot of it is free, but if you're working with a team and stuff, there is a paid version to it. Adobe XD is also a good tool, though it's not as fluid or as versatile as Figma, because you need to download a software. The whole collaboration part is not as smooth, and all of that stuff is there. And by Figma, you can also like you can actually replace other like presentation tools like PowerPoint or Keynote or like Google this thing. Figma is one tool. If you're like want to learn design, learn Figma and use it for everything that is visual. It will solve all of those things. Then once that sort of like a 2D design or screen is ready, you might want to learn a little bit about prototyping. Prototyping is a process where you make a mock-up of an app. It's not an actual app, but it looks like an actual app. So you can load it on a phone and users, or you can go through the app. You can click on buttons, you can move between screens just like you would do on an app, but it's still not an app. So that's sort of an advanced prototyping. There are again a lot of tools. My favorite ones are Framer and Protopie. Framer is a free one. Protopie is not a free one. It's a paid tool. Both of them are really good. Both of them allow you to create almost like real looking applications. And further moving, if you want to this is like, as I was saying, this is one of the best times to be a designer. And one of the reasons for that is the huge thing that has happened in the no code department, So these are two tools which I would recommend if you're developing websites and you're interested in developing it all by yourself. You don't want to learn HTML, you don't want to learn CSS, you're not a coder, but Figma, a design. So coming from Figma to Webflow, you can actually develop that without learning any code. And similarly, if you want to develop applications and stuff, you can go to Bubble, and it's getting better day by day. You can create really good sort of applications, working applications with Bubble. Those will be the major sort of a design stack, I would say, in terms of UI UX design. Otherwise, so apart from that, at times you would need to work with graphics, right? You would like to include some imagery in your website or an application, or you would like to make some illustrations, icons and stuff. And for that, there is two good options. One is Adobe Suite, another one is Affinity. Now, Adobe Suite is paid. It's very expensive. It's almost like 5,000 rupees per month, 5K a month, INR. While Affinity Suite is, why I prefer Affinity Suite is because it's equally as good as Adobe, but it does not come with a subscription. You can actually get it one time, and it has fabulous apps on iPad also. So yeah, Affinity Suite, definitely give it a check out. And yeah, for 3D and stuff, there is a lot of 3D work that is going on in the websites today. If you see, there are 3D icons, there's 3D whole sort of graphics, and if you're interested in sort of creating them, Blender is the best option. It's completely free. It's one of the best open source free platforms out there for creating 3D. The second one would be Cinema 4D. It's a paid one, though there is a student sort of a version to it, which you can get for I think $3 for 6 months, which is also a good choice to learn. Both of them are good softwares, but I would say at this point start with Blender. Then for video and creating animations, we have After Effects. There is a companion to After Effects called Lottie Files. And then we have a video editor called DaVinci Resolve. Lottie Files and DaVinci Resolve are both completely free, while After Effects is a paid version. Okay, then for documentation and maintaining sort of a blog and all of those things, you can use, Google Docs, Notion, or Coda. These are also very, very good tools to get onto that. Okay, I think, yeah, awesome. Actually, I would actually like to interact. This is getting a very monotonous, but okay, let's finish this, and I think let's get on to the question answer part. Cool. So now, how do you get started with UI/UX design? You're someone who, okay, you understand, okay, this is something that you like doing, and this again, I've just divided it into a little bit of two parts. One is the UI part of it, and another is the UX part of it. So why I've divided, because UI is something that you can start learning first, and that will give you a good understanding of design in general. So one of the first things you can do is go ahead and learn Figma. It takes almost just 2 to 3 hours to learn Figma and get started with that. And once you have the good understanding of Figma, you can sort of recreate some of the popular good UIs. Maybe your favorite software is YouTube or Spotify. So just start sort of recreating those user screens and stuff, just practicing it. And then moving from that, you can actually sort of when you're using a particular app, you might find, okay, this is something which is not good. I mean, this can be improved. So you can sort of start working with redesigning those UI screens. Moving from that, you can then maybe start tackling even bigger sort of projects. You can take a particular problem. Let's say you're finding that ordering groceries is a difficult problem, or maybe making lists is a difficult problem for you. There's so many problems that we have all around. So then you can take one of those projects and start designing a full end-to-end app with all the screens and user flows, and that will give you a very, very good understanding of the whole process of it. Finally, go ahead and make a case study or a portfolio for that, and that will help you sort of you get in land a design job or internship. While learning UX is sort of a lifelong process, it is a lot of interacting with users, it is learning different methodologies, conducting interviews, surveys, teamwork, collaboration. So there's a lot in UX, and it's something which will keep on happening. So this is again like sort of understanding human psychology, read about behavior, read books and blogs on human behavior and psychology, understand digital analytics and all of that. I mean, so yeah, so that will be something that will keep on happening throughout your design journey. So now, how and what does a career path for a UI UX designer looks like? You know, like so this is something in a nutshell that it looks like. You start maybe as an intern, you move on to a UI UX designer. At this point, you have to deal as a junior UI UX designer. Companies and like agencies will expect you to know a little bit about both UI and UX, and then you move on to like as a senior sort of a designer where you can actually like either start specializing in just the visual part of it, that is a UI design, or like the UX design part. From this point onwards, you can take two paths. You can either like sort of specialize in just a particular path of it, or you can like move into like sort of managing it all, you know, like sort of jack of all trades, that sort of a situation where you will be not just designing but also managing. You'll be managing teams, you'll be managing different stakeholders in the process. So if you choose that, you can actually like go on and become like a product designer or a product manager, and they have a lot of responsibilities. And if you choose specialization, you can be a a user experience researcher, or a UX strategist, motion designer, UX writer, and stuff like that. And finally, I mean, sort of like the pinnacle of your design career might look like you becoming a design director. So you'll be heading like a whole product or a team, uh, uh, and you'll be like a key decision maker. You'll be taking major design decisions. Some of these like career job like titles might look like design director, art director, product lead, head of design, chief design officers. And I've just included like a small this thing like what might be expected salaries at all these stages. So I mean, you can look at it and have an understanding. So I think Tanishka is asking, can you suggest YouTube channels or resources to learn Figma? Yes, I think one of the best places to learn Figma would be going to the official Figma channel itself. They have amazing content, and you can start from that. They also have like these special playlists where they design a particular app or a particular website from scratch, and they include all the process, both of UI and UX research and everything. So go through them. You don't need to get confused with any other like sort of channels. Go to the official Figma channel and start your learning journey there. But more than that, download Figma right away, just start fiddling with it, and when you get confused, you search for things. I mean, that's just like how self-learning looks like. Yeah, I receive another questions. Okay. Resources to learn Blender. Blender Guru is a good channel. It's a very famous channel. He has this very popular tutorial called Making a Donut in Blender. I think that's probably one of the most watched YouTube videos. And you can start on Blender Guru for Blender. Yeah, yes, we'll be sharing Akshat. We'll be sharing the slides that are here, and I think the video will also be available for download. So I'm receiving more questions on degree needed in design. Okay, that's a very hot topic. How to get right internships in UX design. Okay, so I think we'll come down to and we'll deal with these questions before let's finish this. So once you have started your journey, right, and you have this understanding, like you will probably like to land a job or an internship, you'll probably need to make a portfolio. And so once, as I was talking about, like if you're able to do these things, if you're able to like do a self project or like maybe do a freelance project, and you have like a case study done, and you have like certain smaller redesign projects and all of that, if you have those things ready, then you can start putting them up, like those case studies and stuff, and upload it to Behance. That's the easiest way to get started with a design portfolio. So Behance is an Adobe owned website, and it's completely free. You can put up your projects. It's just like sort of a social media or a portfolio website for designers. So, and it has good visibility also. The second option might be creating your own website. So if you are into Webflow or a WordPress sort of a thing, if you learn those, you can like create your own website, and that's also a good place. And another important thing would be social media visibility and interaction. So please, I mean, share your work on your social profiles and handles. And that is something like personally, I have not done through majority of my career. Like I was involved in doing a lot of startups and all of those things, and never got the time. And I was like, we have all this sort of a shyness, or like this sort of a like hesitance to share our work. Is it good enough? Is it not good enough? But the beauty of sharing something on social media is, and if you can find the right community, especially something like Twitter or something like even for that Instagram is a good place, is that you receive a lot of feedback, and it becomes a part of your learning. It becomes a part of your growth. So please, I think if you can let go of that hesitation, it will benefit you a lot. You won't realize, but you will start learning. You will start growing without like even realizing stuff. Awesome. So yeah, include a portfolio is about showing the width of your skills and the depth of your work. So case studies will be showing the depth, and the width can be shown by smaller, visually oriented like screen redesign projects, or if you have like logo design, some 3D work, or any sort of a design work. I mean, you can like sort of put it up there. So that's sort of like in a nutshell, like what a good portfolio might contain, and how you can sort of get started with that. Another thing might be like after you've done a portfolio, you'll probably appear for an interview. Now, again, like as I'm saying, this is too short of a session to cover all of this, but I'm just like sort of summarizing it, like what are the core things that you need to know, so that there is less confusion about how to move forward with your design journey. So interview, they will be like everyone will be looking at what skills you have and what is the thought process. So you might have done a design, and what the interviewer would like to understand is what is your thinking process behind the design. How did you choose a particular design decision? Why did you like choose this particular color, or why does the layout looks like that? And you should be able to define that or explain it in a way where it sort of builds on the research that you have done. And if you can rationalize those sort of decisions, design decisions, I think, I mean, that's good enough for you to like convince the interviewer. Another thing they might be looking is like of your ability to come up with different design solutions in a short amount of time, which is basically like sort of a brainstorming. And again, like a good command on design tools that we've mentioned above. So I think we are receiving a lot of how to change your career. Okay, I think we are almost done here. So post that we'll come on to the question and answer session. So I think yeah, let's come on to that only. Let's take some questions. So if anybody wants to like come ahead and like maybe just have a chat, I mean like a voice chat, please go ahead, ask your questions. I think it's always good to hear a human voice. This was, I didn't want to do this sort of a like a presentation thing. I thought like we'll be doing like an interaction session. So I mean, yeah, please go ahead, come up and.
So whoever wants to have a conversation can just raise their hands, and I think one of the moderators can allow them to unmute itself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if you're,
Yash, you're there.
yeah, sorry.
I was just saying, Yash, are you there?
I am,
Cool.
but I'll have to actually go to gallery view. I don't know.
Okay, so meanwhile, just figure it out if that's possible. Meanwhile, I'll try to answer some of these questions that are coming up here.
Yeah, it's chill.
How to change your... Yeah.
Wait, we have someone who is unmuted. Veli Villa.
Hello, sir. I'm Gurudatta. I have a question regarding a case study. Can I just ask you?
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you make a case study?
So case study, like as I talked about the design process, right? Like there is discovery, define, design, and development. So case study would be you will be starting with the problem that you're solving. What is exactly the problem that you're solving? You will be mentioning who are the users that you're solving it for. What is the time period? It's basically like your whole process documented. Like how did you conducted your user research? What were your user insights from that? And then moving on to like wireframes, you'll be putting up wireframes there. You'll be putting certain initial screen designs, and like if you have a prototype, you'll put that final design screens and what was the feedback from the users. So whatever you're doing, you keep on, like whenever you're doing, you keep on sort of documenting that, and once you have all of that, you can put it together, and I mean that becomes your case study. I hope that makes
So it
sense.
is, yeah. So it is
Um,
completely like a roadmap of entire work what we have done so far, right, sir?
Yes, yes. So at times, like it might not be possible to actually put everything out. So you'll have to like choose the most important things that you want to show to someone, like, so maybe like out of 10 different design decisions, what were like the 2 or 3 that made the most impact? So only choose those and present that in the case study, so that there's a very little time for someone to go through something. So make sure that everything that you're putting there has a sense, and it builds on each other. You might like, okay, like for research part, you might say we did this much research and everything, but if it is not connecting to your final design, if you're not able to make that connection, I think there is no need to put it there. So make your like whatever you want to put, it should like tie in a story. It should be impactful, and yeah, it should be crisp.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yes.
Uh, if we gonna redesign any website or an app, is it necessary to have more brief case study about it?
uh, is it necessary to, pardon?
Is it necessary to have a case study regarding the redesigning of application?
See, case study is something you can design your project. Case study is never needed, but case study is the only way you'll be able to show the depth of what has gone into that design. Yeah, so I mean that becomes like one of the things that, like if you're applying for a job or an internship, so like you can actually just present maybe screens, or you can, if you have an app, you can just show that, but it's not going to make a lot of sense to an interviewer, or like somebody who's looking to hire you for that job. So they want to always know what's your thought process, what is your process of design, and that is where a case study comes into picture. So it becomes important to have case study if you are applying for a job or an internship. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, awesome. Yes. Do we have more?
next we have
Yeah,
Vishal. You'll be unmuted.
yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead,
go on,
Vishal.
Vishal.
Hi,
So
Vishal.
this is Vishal Tiwari. Sir, I'm
Hi,
in the
Vishal.
first year of BTech and I want to earn some bucks by doing freelancing. Can you suggest me some
Mhm.
websites or courses which I can prefer for learning basics of design?
Okay,
But
so till
actually, I
this
have
point,
joined late. That's why I'm not able to get.
not an issue, not an issue. So you are into you're doing BTech, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're interested in design. So
Yes.
yeah. So I think like probably until this point you've been like sort of doing it like self-learning, and that is I think a lot of questions were there which were like saying, do you need to have a degree in design, or you can like sort of do it without the design, and that's a very sort of a hot topic. And honestly, I mean, to learn design in modern world, or anything for that sake, you don't need a degree. You don't need anything like that. And a few there's a lot of good research resources on internet, but the problem with that is there's too much. When you start looking for like what to learn, there is so many new keywords, there's so many new things, there's so many new tools that come up that you get confused in what to choose. And sorry, are you saying something?
No, sir.
Yeah. So that is where I would suggest, if you can get into a mentorship program somewhere, or sort of like a cohort based program, because there you'll have professionals and people who have understood design, people who have delivered multiple projects, real world projects, and they'll be able to guide you so much better. They will know, okay, this is where and this is how you have to learn something. And I think that's very crucial, because it will cut down the time for you to like start your design journey, to earn or land your first job, or like even move your in your career a little bit ahead, from maybe like years to into months. And yeah, so for that would be the first way I would suggest, that if you can find a cohort, go for it. I hope that makes sense. Vishal?
I think he
Thank you, sir.
just
So
Yes, sir. I
muted
got
himself.
it, sir.
awesome. So I'm seeing a lot of questions here. What is the role of college in becoming a successful designer? Do we have better opportunities in India or abroad? So Akshat is asking this question. Hi Akshat, a very good question. So as I was saying, the role of college remains the same. It is a good mentorship place. People there have been working with like students and real world projects. So you have like this sort of a space and sort of a guidance that is there. So whenever you're lost, you always have someone to talk to. You have always someone to like sort of this thing. Apart from that, a degree or like a college, especially in design, has not that much impact, unless until probably if you're doing it from a renowned institute, like something like National Institute of Design, NID, or like IIT, or like a good design institute. And even that does not play a long role in your career. That will probably give you a good start, and probably be important in the first year of your this thing. So because you can probably get better or little easier placement done. But that's it. Once you're into your first job, once you land up your first this thing, after that it's not going to matter much. After that, it's your skills, it's your work that is going to matter. And that is one of the best things about design, UX design. I hope that makes sense to Akshat, and a lot of other people who are asking this question. So we're receiving a lot of questions. Sir, do we
Oh,
need to? I think,
we have
yeah.
Saibada who wants to ask a question. I'm just unmuting.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Hey Rahul, first of
Hi.
all, it's been
Hi.
a great talk. We'll have two
Yeah.
questions actually.
Okay,
I'm
go ahead.
Sri Prada. I'm an artist based out of Chennai. I have been into designing since the lockdown started. I explored more into design and I totally loved it. But
Right.
as a starter, I have only two case studies, and then I'm applying for real world internships and job offers. It's so intimidating, People out there are doing some super cool internships and super cool work experiences and projects, and I have,
Right.
yeah, it's kind of like an imposter syndrome. That's the first question, and second question is, I'm into engineering right now in third year. So, does it really give an edge to people who have a design background, or is it just the same? I'm so intimidated by them. So, can you please answer them?
Yeah, no. Those are very, I mean, like crucial questions that come up when you start doing design, because you see, as you were saying, like so many good things happening, so many good designers and stuff. I would say, and this is something that goes in anything you begin. Okay, it might be design, it might be tech, it might be anything. You'll always be doubtful. You'll always be doubtful about your skills, because somebody or else will always be better than you. But also you have to realize they're probably better because they are not at the same point in their journey as you are. Okay, they've probably started a couple of months back, or probably they got a little bit better understanding, or some better mentorship, or probably they got some better resources, and all of that can happen. But what matters is your understanding of what a good design is. You might not be able to, like skill wise, you might lack those things. that you're not able to do it, you're not able to translate it. But if you're able to understand what a good design is, when you come across a good design and you're able to appreciate it, that is important. If you have that, then all you need to do is just sort of keep on working on it, keep on working on yourself, keep on working on your skills, keep on finding resources, keep on talking to people, showing your work, getting feedback and learning, and you will eventually reach that point. Regarding the imposter syndrome that you talk about, it will be there for some time, until unless you start receiving some. The only way that happens is like when we receive a feedback, or when we receive an appreciation, when we achieve something, a tangible something. So I think yes. So it will take some time probably for it to go away, and maybe it doesn't go away also. Like I meet a lot of designers who are probably head of design in teams, and even they at times I'm having conversations with them, and they would be like talking about someone else, and they would be saying, oh, that person is so good, that person is such a good designer, I hope I was as good as that. And this is the head of design talking about this thing, and this is a real conversation I have had. So probably, I mean, it never goes, because there is always someone who will be better than you, but you'll get a little bit more confident as you do more designs. So I would say just go get your feet wet into the water and start do design, make a lot of screens, watch things, get mentorship if possible, get into a cohort if possible, and things will start falling in place in a couple of years. So I hope that answers that part of the question. Um, Shri, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, that was very helpful, Rahul. Thank you so much. And also, where can we connect with you?
You can connect with me on Twitter. I can share my Twitter handle. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I
Rahul.
think we sure. Great. Okay. So we have a lot more questions. Anyone else who would like to come and
Yeah, we have Rishabh with us. He wants to ask a question.
yes, please go ahead.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Hi Rishabh, how are you doing? Where are you from?
I'm from Bhubaneswar, and
Oh,
I was listening to this conversation, and I just got this on BlueLearn, and I'm not really into the UX and UI design, but I really enjoyed the conversation, and I just wanted to ask, like, I also have been working on like a project of mine, and I
mhm.
really wanted someone to like mentor me properly, and so I heard that you can like acquire mentors and like be better at
Hmm.
the thing that you're doing. So
Right.
I just wanted to ask, I mean, I've been searching for a mentor, but probably not in the right places. So could you like just tell us about how we can like connect to mentors and like connect to people who are gonna help us in our career building?
Right. Very good question, and it's a good time actually, because again, like mentorship and cohort-based things are hot topics right now, and there's a lot of good people who are mentoring this thing. So one of the places you can start maybe like looking for mentors is ADP List. I'm not sure whether you've heard about it. Uh, but it's a platform where, I mean, there is a lot of good mentors, and generally, I mean, it's easier to find like someone who you feel like you can like explore different profiles, and if you feel like, okay, this is someone that I can connect with. Another way of finding a mentor would be probably like being a little bit socially active, like where designers are active, or like maybe like on Twitter, or maybe like on YouTube, following their channels and stuff, and see, I mean, if they are launching a mentorship program or a cohort based program, and see, I mean, if you can apply there and get into that. The best way is to like just like sort of be socially active and find these things up. But yeah, a good place to start, a solid place to start is ADP List, if that makes sense. Plus, we are also, I think, BlueLearn is also coming up with a design club in a couple of months, where a design-based cohort will be run. So I think that that's another place. Uh, that you can maybe look forward to. And everybody, I mean, who is looking for like some sort of mentorship or like a cohort based program in design, I think that's something you can like keep a check on. And then there's others, a few cohort based things you might have heard about. 10K designers being run by Abnux, and that's also a very good course, though it's a little on the pricier side. But yeah, I mean, that's a very solid proven course. You can go into that also. And there are a few mentorship programs being run by international universities also. So you can look into those things also. You can go into Coursera. They have like a lot of peer-to-peer programs that are happening, and check there also. I hope that answers your question, Rishabh. Rishabh, are you there?
Yes, yes. Actually, I got muted. So yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
while I was listening to you, I went to the ADP list, and I think I could like meet a few mentors here and get my work done. So really, thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So apart from that, Rishabh, and I think for everyone else, I'm also running like a mentorship, like a cohort. It's called UN Design. You can check that out on Twitter. And right now we're doing like a first cohort on that, and probably like you can join the waitlist if you are interested. If you, I mean, like the conversation we are having here, and you can join the waitlist, and it will probably be starting the next batch would be in January. Yeah, just adding that. Awesome. Yes, yes. More questions?
So I'm receiving a few questions as well. A few people are asking what exactly made you give design exams, as well as what made you choose design entirely itself. I think you did your bachelor's in architecture, master's, and so if you could explain that a little as
Right, right, right. Good question. So, my journey was a little like weird, you can say, like to put it. So I got into, I was aiming for IITs, and I got into JE, but I didn't had a good rank, and I got chemical engineering, and I quitted IITs at that point. And the next thing I knew was like something that excited me was always technology and sort of design. That was the second part. And architecture is a very good solid course on understanding user experience. So you're designing for buildings, you're designing for spaces, you're designing, and like doors, windows, all of these are user interfaces. They might not look or feel like, but they're all UI elements in 3D space. And I was always sort of also interested in part of like 3D as a whole thing. And that was the reason, I mean, so it excited me. I joined architecture, but I always had in mind that I am going to eventually like designing digital products and stuff. So once I was done with architecture, I was looking to do certain things in and experiments in AR and VR. That was another thing that was really, really exciting for me. And at that point, there was Palmer Luckey who came up with this device, awesome device called Oculus. And so I got an experience of that after like exiting architecture, and I was like, okay, this is something that I really want to do. This is very exciting. And that is when casually, I mean, I again sort of like looked for courses and stuff that might be there. That was a time we didn't have this much UI UX things going on online or YouTube and stuff like that. That was in 2012, back in 2012. And I figured out, okay, probably, I mean, this is one of the best places. IDC, Industrial Design Center at IIT Bombay, is one of the best places, and I applied for the course there. And even like during those 2 years, even though, I mean, it was more about physical product design, my stream was this thing, industrial design. But I kept on like sort of developing something or the other in softwares and applications. So I worked with a wearable, a musical device that you can wear in your hand and you can play music anywhere, that sort of a thing. And also like creating certain AR VR experiences. And that is where, I mean, I landed up internship in Google, and I worked with their AR VR team. And some of those elements are still like, if you've used Google Lens, some of those design things are still there. A batchmate of mine is working with Google right now. We did the internship together, and he's developing the Google Lens product. So in a nutshell, for me, it was not probably like a switch. It was like a sort of an upgrade. It was like sort of a pathway for me to understand design as a whole, if that makes sense.
Completely. I think we can take a few more questions if you have more time.
Yes, I think we can have a few more questions for sure, because I think there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of good questions that we are having. I want to answer them, but I think not possible. So I think I'll be sharing. So some of us are asking LinkedIn profile and like how we can connect. Probably I think Yashvi, you can share like some of those links. I would share with you so that everybody can have those things.
Absolutely, yeah. Divyansh, if you can unmute a few people who wants to ask questions. Divyansh, are you there?
Hello.
Divyansh,
Just a sec, I'll unmute.
Yeah.
Abhiram, maybe you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Hey, so I'm really into AR and VR actually. So
Hi, Rahul.
hi Rahul. So I'm really into AR and
Hi.
VR, and we're also seeing the inception of Meta. So it's going to change the way we interact with the digital world. So
True.
as of now, I'm really good at graphic designing. I do even few visual effects and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I'm really good at it, and I'm even progressing very well. But I'm unable to develop that competitive advantage over others. How do I present myself differently when there are many other people who could do things that I do equally, but I would like to be presented differently out there in the market so that I can find my chunk of clients. So how do we do that? And also, uh, what kind of opportunities we're gonna have because of the inception of Meta, and how can we actually build a great career considering the future opportunities from their side?
Okay, so as far as I understand, there's two major questions here. Like you're interested in the meta part and how you can develop your career and skill in that. And the first is like how do you get better at probably presenting yourself, right? Or having that sort of an advantage. So let me answer the first question. This thing like how do you get better at presenting? Uh, Presenting is like sort of communicating, like you're putting yourself out in the world, and the only way to get better at it is communicate with better people, communicate with people you think who are good at doing that. Don't be shy, like observe them, understand them, read what they're saying, maybe watch their videos if they're available. But the best is if you can have like real one-to-one conversations with them, and that is where you will start like forming the understanding of okay, how to talk about something, how to present something. And that there is a word that's called articulation. Like articulation is what you need to learn, like because there is a lot of things that you do. But as I was saying, like somebody was asking that how do you do a good case study, or like what to include in a case study. So you're not going to talk about everything. It'll get boring. I mean, for even now, like, I did this session, I didn't want to do all of that. I wanted this sort of a one-to-one interaction, and that is where you learn the art of communicating, and you move from just communicating everything to focusing on what matters the most. So again, the idea of UX comes here. Understand who you're talking to. Let's say you are presenting a particular thing, your project, right? So understand who you're talking to. What are probably their understandings? What is their sensibilities? If you can understand that, and once you understand that, try to present things that are going to matter to them. Things that are not going to matter to you. I mean, for you, probably everything is going to matter, right? But yeah, we think this is also important. This is also important. We are not able to cut down. And that's a very important design principle that I practice in my own personal life also. Subtract to add. You don't have to keep everything. You take out things away so that the meaning is still there, but still it makes the sense. So that's still vague, and the only way you can learn is again like not in just one answer that I can give you right now, but it's a process. So two ways of doing it: read better books, watch good videos. If you find someone who's like, you find like they're talking really interesting. So for example, like there is this Photoshop channel called Pix Imperfect. I don't know whether you've come through it. And so that person presents Photoshop like you would just like to listen the way he talks about concepts and stuff like that. And once you watch like a couple of videos, you will start understanding that he is always about presenting the concept and idea first, and then about like the method second. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. And if you can find real persons in your life, go make friends with them, knock them. It can happen on Twitter, it can happen in your real life, but yeah, surround yourself with that sort of a people. Yeah. So that would be your answer to the first question: how you can get better at communicating and presenting yourself. Second is like the meta question, right? I started my AR/VR journey in 2013, 14, 15, and that was my first startup. So the channel name is Pix Imperfect. I think somebody is asking a question in the chats. It's a Photoshop. You just search for Pix Imperfect and you'll find that. Okay, so yeah, and at that point, like it was very similar to the situation right now. It was a hot topic. Everybody was talking about AR, VR. Like it's not everybody, but like a larger number of people, because there was devices that were coming out. Microsoft had its device called HoloLens coming out, which is an AR device, and all of that. But as we were working, we realized it's not going to reach to the consumers, because first of all, it's very expensive. Second, like it's not comfortable. Anything we're talking about meta AR VR, you have to wear a device. It cannot happen otherwise. So and unless and until that wearing of the whole device becomes so comfortable that you don't realize it, there is no friction, like you just maybe wear it and you can do it for hours. You can like do your own computing there. Till that point, it's still not going to become like a major thing. And even looking at the current scenario, because I mean, all this rebranding and all this talk is there, Facebook, Meta, all of that has been done. But this will also die down. Okay, definitely there is a push. Definitely there will be more work that is happening. There is a lot of work that is happening in the background. But for it to become popular, for it to become like reach consumers, I think there is still like 5 to 10 years at least in the pipeline before we start seeing a real impact on people, like a lot of people. But in the meanwhile, there is a lot of research work going on. There is a lot of openings, job openings that are there in Facebook, Microsoft, and all of that time. And there is a lot of enterprise applications. So as I was talking about, my first startup was an AR VR startup. Okay, it's called XR Labs. If you go and like see the website, and very soon we realized, like within first 5-6 months, that we have to shift our focus from consumers to enterprise. So we developed like a training solution for Siemens, and they wanted. I mean, this will get pretty long, so I hope that answers your questions. Let's move on to the next one, because I can talk like all day long about AR and VR. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Abhiram. Yes.
Should we take any more questions?
Probably we can take one quick questions, and I think after that we can probably close it.
Cool. Ritik, you can go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir.
Hi, Ritik.
First of all, what do you think the future of designing, after 10 years, 20 years, if I pursue it, what should I do first? Like, as I get it through the presentation, UI UX is most crucial right now, and motion graphics in video editing is more. So, what your thought on that? Second, what's your thought on UI UX not as a service but as a product? Like we get stock images, graphic images like Canva, stock images we can use. And same, what your thought on UI UX stock designs, templates we can use and developing that website or that thing. And third, what is your biggest problem which you face till this journey and which you want to be solved? Means what you think is the biggest problem is of this industry and how this should be corrected. And can you please share your email ID too with the LinkedIn? And I know you tell this if you can.
Yeah. So, Yashvi, how will we be able to share like these links after the call, or should we share it right away? What's the thing?
So if you could send that in right now in the chat, that will be perfect because we can just take a note of it. And yeah, if right now can be done, that will be perfect.
Oh yeah, it would be better if it's shared right now in the chat.
Yes, yes, yes. So, okay. What I'll do is, Divyansh, can I message you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, you just share all the links. I just put it on the chat. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I think just one would be good. I will be sharing my LinkedIn and my Twitter, though I'm not at all active on LinkedIn. But yes, I've gotten pretty much active on Twitter for past couple of months. And that's another thing I would say to everyone who is here. And that's one of the like sort of a regret that I always have. Like I didn't start sharing and talking about my work too much like early in social media. So if you can, I mean, the best thing is like you can do to yourself and learn design or anything else is like start sharing your journey on social media. That will help you a lot. That will get you opportunities. That will get you different mentorships. That will get you like people to talk to, and it's very important. I started too late, and I cannot tell you how important that part of it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think my Twitter profile Divyansh has shared, and I think that should be good. You can connect with me there, and I mean, post that if you want an email ID or if you want like a call, we can take that from that point. Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Ritik, I think your questions are very deep. You know, like they require more than like what we have right now at this point to answer. But one thing I would probably like to answer is like, and that might be a question for many people, is like, what's probably the future of UI and UX design? And I think let's stop calling it UI and UX design. Let's just call it UX design. You know, UI is a sub part of it. If there is one important takeaway that I would like all of you to take from this is like it's UX design and UI is a sub part of it. So okay. Having said that, I think UX design is something where you start with the human. You know, like you have to understand a human, and that human understanding is probably, I mean, for machines to understand, or for even AI to understand, or for any sort of an automation tool to understand, we are still far from that. Yes, they can get you like insights, they can get you analytics, they can get you data, but what to make sense of it, the emotional part of it is something that yes, we have to do it. So as we move forward, looking like next 5 to 10 years, UX is going to become even more important. UI, there will be a lot of automations, you know, like you were talking about templates, you were talking about different ways of doing it. There is no code tools coming in. So I see like in next 5 to 10 years, a tool like Figma or maybe a new tool will come, which will automate a lot of these things. You probably have to maybe like just make a couple of sliders and it will automatically provide you with the best colors or like the best typography and all of that. So you don't need to have to worry about that. And you can just start getting on focusing on what features to put there, all of that. So we're slowly reaching there, but yes, that's what I see. A lot of automation will happen in the UI design. I don't know, there was this very interesting experiment done by a developer last year, where he combined the GPT-3 AI library, you know, like this is a text-based library that can understand conversations, that can understand text-based things. So if you ask it to write a story, it can like communicate with you and all of that. So what he did was like you can actually talk or you can write. It was a plugin he made for Figma, and he would write, please make me a website which has like this image and it has like one button, call to action and stuff like that. And that's it. Figma will create that thing, design for you. So I would probably, I mean, if you connect with me on Twitter, I will share the link for that. And it's quite amazing to see such things happening. But again, right now they're in experimental stage. But yes, next 10 years is that. Even beyond that, I would say probably after that, UI will be 90% automated. But UX, I think we're looking at least like 40 to 50 years before AI can have that sort of an understanding. And even then, I think the decision making will lie with us. So understand UX in a nutshell, understand human, read about behaviors, human behavior, psychology, good books. And if you can get good at that, I think you are going to have a fabulous career in next 15-20 years. Yeah. I think awesome. That's with that. I hope that answers your question, Ritik. Very good questions. I mean, yeah, there's so many questions that I would really like to answer, but yeah, we don't have time. But okay, awesome,
Yeah, just I
cool,
with you on Twitter and we have a conversation right over here. There.
awesome, Ritik.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Um,
you.
Yes, Rahul. Thank you so much. We still have like a lot of people asking a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions
Yeah.
for you. But whoever has these questions, connect with him on Twitter. He's very active and will surely get back to you. Before I conclude the entire session, is there some last advice that you would like to give to all the aspiring designers right now?
I think that would be you get better at something by doing it. Like that's the only advice I give. I mean, I can give at this point. If you want to get good at it, just start doing it. Learn Figma. Start fiddling with screens. Copy like good designs. Move ahead. Discuss it with people. Receive feedback and share your work with the world. That's the only thing I would say at this point. Yeah, that's all. And
That's
keep believing. Okay, keep believing in yourself, because you are here because you have that understanding of what is a good design. If you have that, you will reach there definitely. If you keep working on that, you will be able to create those designs. Like 5 years ago, I wanted like certain thing to be done, but I was not able to achieve it. My skill level was not good, my understanding was not, but at this point I'm able to achieve that. So that's the journey. That's the journey. You have that understanding, please just do it, keep on doing it, sharing. Yeah, that's all.
That's amazing. That's great. And the conversations were really interesting. And even the entire presentation, it was a very complex and a very holistic overview, which it explained in a very simplified version for us, for people like us to understand as well. So that was really great. And thank you so much for taking this up. So for people who joined today, this is just the first event, and we have an entire design week coming up, and there are events about product design. We have folks from Cred, FamPay coming up, talking about design as well. We have a designathon. We also have like a pitching event as well. So you can apply all of the things that you're and then use it in the event itself. So keep an eye. We'll post everything on our socials and on Discord as well. Without any further ado now, thank you so much, Rahul, for taking this up. We really appreciate it. And I think a lot of us picked like a lot of things from this, and there was a lot to learn. And we really hope to see you here again soon as well. And thank you so much for being here, and have a really good night.
Yeah, same here. It was a pleasure, and I think I would be joining the rest of the design sessions as like sort of maybe a listener or an observer, because as you were talking about this, like so many good people coming here, right? You're talking about people from Cred, people from this thing, and that's the beauty. I mean, for everyone who is asking like how you get better at it, join these sessions, learn, listen to these people talk about their work and how they guide you, how they give a feedback. There's nothing better than this. So I think this design week is awesome. If you can make it, please go ahead and do that. Yeah, awesome. It's been a pleasure being here, being hosted by Divya and Cheshvi for this. Thank you for inviting me and doing this. I enjoyed this thoroughly. And yes, everybody for asking so many questions, so many interesting questions. I hope, I mean, as you go through the design week, a lot of these questions will be answered. So this is just the start. All the best, have fun and enjoy. You can only create a good design if you enjoy it yourself. You cannot create an enjoyable design if you're not enjoying it yourself. So enjoy the whole thing up. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rahul. Have a really good night, and bye-bye.
Oh yeah,
Bye.
thanks again, Rahul. It was really great session.
Thank you. Thank you.
We
Same.
really appreciate you taking this one. Also, everyone, we did share a feedback form in the chat. So it's for us, by the way, for the management team. So how we can improve the sessions for you, your experience. So please do share your opinions. And also his Twitter is shared in the link. So go follow him up and you can connect with him there. I guess that's it for the night. Thank you, everyone.